E. James Sr., Senator Javon E. James Sr., present. Franklin D. Johnson, Senator Franklin D. Johnson, present. Carla Joseph,
Present.
Senator Carla Joseph, present. Stephen D. Payne Sr.,
Present.
Senator Stephen D. Payne Sr., present. Milton E. Potter,
Here.
Senator Milton E. Potter, present. Janelle K. Saru, Senator Janelle K. Saru, present. Kurt A. Vialet,
Here.
Senator Kurt A. Vialet, present. Genevieve Whitaker, Senator Genevieve Whitaker, present. Madam President, we have 14 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have a quorum and we are prepared to proceed. Good evening to my colleagues, the Honorable Clergy Father Anthony Abraham, Chief Justice Reese Hodge, Presiding Judge Harold Willocks, members of the Governor's Cabinet, legislative staff, fellow Virgin Islanders, and all those listening and viewing this evening. Thank you for joining the members of the 34th Legislature as we receive the 4th State of the Territory Address from Governor Albert Bryan Jr. We are here tonight pursuant to Section 7A of the Revised Organic Act of the Virgin Islands, 48 U.S.C, Section 1573A, which provides in relevant part, regular session of the legislature shall be held annually, commencing on the second Monday in January, unless the legislature shall affix a different date, and adopted rules of the 34th Legislature, Section 201B, page 8 of the rules. Earlier today, the Legislature of the Virgin Islands adopted Bill number 34-0187, and it was signed into law by the governor this afternoon, and is now Act 8539, changing the session date to this evening, January 24th, 2022. Are we ready? Senator Carrion, please mark him as present. So all senators are present. We are ready to receive the First Lady of the United States Virgin Islands, Mrs. Yolanda Bryan. Pardon us, the First Lady is delayed by 2 minutes. Please remember to turn off your cell phones as the proceedings begin. Normally, I would take a recess, but this is not a recess opportunity. We will wait for the First Lady to arrive. Please join us in welcoming First Lady of the Virgin Islands, Yolanda Bryan. Please be seated. Please only rise when you are asked to rise, please. Thank you. Welcome, First Lady Bryan. We're happy that you joined us this evening. Thank you for coming. Please stand and join me in welcoming the Lieutenant Governor of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Tregenza Roach, escorted by the Honorable Genevieve Whitaker, Secretary of the 34th Legislature. You may be seated. Good evening to the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Please rise.
Madam President, the Honorable Governor of the United States Virgin Islands, Albert Bryan, Jr.
Please be seated. Governor Bryan, the floor is yours.
I am so excited to be here tonight with you. But before I get going, I would like to take a moment, because I know I will forget, to share a small token of the solidarity between the executive branch and the legislative branch to the Senate President. The token so that we always understand that while we may have our differences, the mission of the people rises beyond all else. Madam President. Reverend Father Anthony Abraham, Lieutenant Governor Figenza Roach, Esquire, Senate President Donna Fred Gregory, and members of the 34th Legislature, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Reese S. Hodge, Presiding Judge Harold W. L. Willocks of the Superior Court of the Virgin Islands, members of my cabinet, staff, and other agency heads, my First Lady, my wife, First Lady Yolanda, Bryan, invited guests, and my fellow Virgin Islanders. Good evening. I am honored to stand before you for the fourth time as Governor of the Virgin Islands of the United States to report on the state of the territory as mandated in the revised Organic Act of 1954. I thank this body for graciously accepting my request to reschedule the delivery of this address from its original date of January 10th, as we made the necessary adjustments to safeguard for the public's health. Now, when I appeared before the Senate to present our very first State of the Territory on January 28, 2019, we were still reeling from the impact of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Our focus was the recovery from these twin disasters and stabilizing the finances of the government. Since then, we have experienced the additional trauma of the deadly global pandemic, and the largest private employer in the Virgin Islands closed its door for the second time in less than a decade. Most recently, we have been challenged by the rapid inflation in local prices brought about by the pandemic, supply chain disruptions, lack of housing, and many, many other factors. However, Senators, I trust you have been reminded, as I have, that our people are remarkably resilient. And as a community, we have pushed ourselves to do better, to achieve more, and to overcome our limitations. And the results are becoming evident. We are not only surviving, we are thriving. While we've seen our fair shares of ups and downs in the past few years, our economy has demonstrated surprising rigidity. In 2019, the U.S. Virgin Islands economy saw expansion and growth in the aftermath of the 2017 hurricanes. The gross domestic product advanced 2.2% that year. Total employment over the year had grown by 6%. Our housing industry was strong as the number of sales territory-wide grew by 31%, and the median sales price of the average home rose by 10%. The territory drew 2.1 million visitors and was on pace for even more in 2020. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic. Describing 2020 as a disruptive year for the U.S. Virgin Islands economy would be a gross understatement. We saw unemployment increase to a high of 13.6%, and tourism severely declined. For over a year, the number of cruise passengers and the ships to come to our territory dropped to exactly zero. A decrease in the number of tourists translated to a decline in stays at the establishments which house them, with hotel occupancy falling to 25%. Several of our hotels closed and furloughed workers. Many were unsure when or even if we would see economic recovery. But that uncertainty, however, would not remain for long, as economic indicators began to provide a more promising outlook. With the successful distribution of vaccines and the implementation of balanced COVID protocols, which protected our health while enabling many businesses to stay open, we led this territory on a narrow path to economic recovery. By October 2021, the economy had already regained almost 95% of the jobs lost during the pandemic. And the unemployment rate fell to 8%, a full 5.6 points from the initial hike. Visitor volume recovered nearly 80% from its low in 2020. And we started to draw regional and national attention as to how well we were doing despite COVID. We can proudly report that our efforts to keep America's Caribbean open and protect the livelihoods of those of us who depend on the hospitality industry have been very successful. Throughout the pandemic, the U.S. Virgin Islands continued to win accolades for its visitor experience as a travel destination. We made Bloomberg's Businessweek's prestigious list of the top places in the world to visit in 2022. Caribbean Journal, a preeminent tourism media house, recently named the USVI the most innovative destination of the year, thanks to the ingenuity of our travel screening portal, which processed more than 1 million applications just this year alone. As of November 2021, passenger air arrivals had more than doubled compared to the same period in 2020. Last year also, we saw the return of cruise passengers. After the CDC's no-sail order stopped cruise ship traffic from March 2020 to June 2021. To facilitate the return of the cruise industry, we executed individual agreements with cruise lines to ensure that the vast majority of crew and the passengers were vaccinated and tested prior to getting to our territory. The Caribbean Journal has also named the U.S. Virgin Islands the yachting destination of the year, which speaks to the successful transformation of our marine sector. The charter yacht sector has blossomed and become a significant component of our tourism industry. Once again, we are on top. Such recognition also underscores the growth and potential of the Blue Economy initiative that we have been pursuing. Our hotel sector is also showing strong signs of recovery from the effects of the 2017 hurricanes and the impacts of the pandemic. According to reports from STR, a leader on hospitality data reporting, we have consistently led the Caribbean in average daily rate throughout the pandemic. In 2020, our occupancy rate was 46%, and the average daily rate was $295. By 2021, our occupancy rate grew to 70%, and the average daily rate to $495. Despite the necessary change to their service models to comply with safety protocols, local restaurateurs were happy to report that their businesses were booming. The most loyal of customers found that they needed reservations all of a sudden, days in advance. I know that these impressive numbers, they're just not happenstance. It took tremendous planning and hard work of our tourism team. And I would like to thank Commissioner Bushelt and his entire team down at Tourism for their hard work. On St. Croix, the 200-room Divi Carina Resort and Casino will fully reopen on February 1st as an all-inclusive, adult-only resort to include Divi's new brand, Oceans, an exclusive 50-room hotel within a hotel. The Buccaneer Hotel has become a Wyndham property, adding another worldwide respected brand to the Big Island. On St. John, we are overjoyed with the reopening of Concordia Eco Resort. The territory continues to enjoy considerable media attention around the new Luvango Key development. On St. Thomas, the Marriott Frenchman's Reef and Morning Star are finally making positive headway to opening in 2023. Our Airbnb business grew 100% in 2020. Then it grew an additional 200% in 2021, providing much needed rooms in both districts. The mammoth resurgence of overnight guests and the jobs and the revenue that they help generate were a welcome economic boost. We are committed to having a solid private sector that can continue to drive our economy for years to come. The Bryan Roach administration has prided itself on true belt tightening and conservative financial forecasting. As a result, the government of the Virgin Islands continues to gain fiscal strength. Total tax revenues remain steady in fiscal year 2021 when compared to fiscal year 2020 at exactly $839 million. That is 10% greater than fiscal year 2019 and more than 30% greater than the revenues collected in fiscal year 2018. Over the last 3 years of this administration, we have seen the annual revenue collections exceed the revenue projections, creating budget surpluses that have not been seen in over 15 years, despite the pandemic. Furthermore, we have actually reduced the indebtedness of the government by over $500 million just in the last 3 years. We have an excellent financial team, ably led by Jennifer O'Neill. I want to thank her, Joelle, Bosadie Bruce, Brent Leardam, Josh Springett, and the rest of the team as they continue to impress me with their excellent fiscal management skills. We have projected several factors that we believe will provide sustainability to our revenue picture over the coming year. Chief amongst these is the continuous and steady expenditure of disaster recovery funds, as many capital projects are completing the planning process and moving to construction. Sustained public sector spending in general will be crucial to economic activity. Last year, the Department of Property and Procurement executed 630 contracts, totaling $482 million, resulting in a 200% increase in executed contracts year over year. Now, as impressive as this sounds, this increase is going to keep growing and growing over the next several years as we expand the influx of hurricane and pandemic recovery funding. We continue our commitment to increasing the efficiency and the productivity of government through the use of technology. The Department of Property and Procurement will be aided in its efforts by the successful launch of its online procurement system, GVI Buy. Now, all government bid solicitations, contracts, purchase orders, and invoicing will be done transparently through that system, which is now online. No longer will vendors be in the dark about the status of their invoices and when they can expect to be paid. Thank you, Commissioner Anthony Thomas and your team for your hard work. We were closed on Friday, but West Indian Petroleum is still finalizing the purchase of the refinery on St. Croix, and we are working with them to not only open safely, but to explore other potential uses for this sprawling industrial complex. We are anticipating greater and greater economic certainty as we recover from the pandemic-related reduction in business activity and the related decrease in leisure spending. Our tourism market is also expected to continue to roar back and to remain robust over the next year or two as we add more cruise calls, flights, hotel rooms, and marine vessels to our product. Last year, we settled a federal court case which held excise taxes in abeyance for over 3 years. The collection of these taxes, which did not play a role in our administration's prior budget submission, has now been factored into our revenue projections, bolstering the financial position of the government once again. In addition to all these economic factors, the territory is the recipient of sufficient federal funds to buttress the pandemic-related revenue losses and expenditures, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, not for 3 years, but for 4 years. There is much work to be done as we continue to improve the quality of life for all Virgin Islanders. But together, we got this. As I stand here tonight, I am happy to report that the state of the territory is stronger than ever and only getting stronger. Yes, we have challenges, but for the first time in a very, very long time, we have the plans in place to address our challenges, and perhaps most importantly, the resources in order to implement those plans. We all know that the road here hasn't been easy. Daily, I'm faced with residents suffering in one way or another, having a hard time through 3 major disasters in less than 5 years. But when I addressed this body last year, people said that I spoke too much about COVID. But there was no way of knowing then that the worst impacts of this global pandemic was still yet to come. The Delta variant caught governments throughout the nation and worldwide completely off guard. Its lethality would wield COVID most deadly blow to date. Now the Omicron variant is surprising the world again with its contagiousness. It has been a challenging time for members of our community. You're living with the constant fear and anxiety that is due to this virus. Even worse than that is the uncertainty of when we will return to normalcy. If ever, as we approach the 3rd year, the global pandemic in the United States remains under national public health emergency declaration, as it does in the Virgin Islands. It continues to be the most significant issue confronting our territory on a day-to-day basis, as it has been for the last 2 years. As I speak to you tonight, the surge in active cases brought about by the Omicron virus continues to rage through our territory. We are in the midst of the 5th wave of the infections brought about by this pandemic. This pandemic has tested our ability to be adaptive in our response to the ever-changing and unpredictable circumstances of COVID. We battled the deadly variant of the virus from midsummer through November of last year, and that variant was particularly lethal and contributed significantly to the 65 COVID-related deaths we had last year. It's only January, Virgin Islanders. We've already had 8 COVID deaths already. I would like to spend a moment of silence for those families of not only those who have passed away, but who continue to suffer from the after effects of this pandemic. Now, just as we thought we had beaten back COVID and felt confident enough to begin relaxing emergency restrictions, then came the news of the Omicron variant. The highly contagious nature of this variant has led to a record number of infections in the territory. The rapid onset of this surge has created tremendous strain on our emergency rooms and our urgent care clinics. While we may all want to be done with COVID, COVID is certainly not done with us. The biggest weapon in our battle to withstand the COVID-19 pandemic last year was the availability of vaccines. We were the first jurisdiction in the nation to make them widely available to everyone. The easy access to free vaccination protected thousands of Virgin Islanders from the worst health effect of the COVID virus. The numbers don't lie. Yes, we have experienced breakthrough cases, which fully vaccinated individuals have ended up getting the virus. However, of the Virgin Islands that have unfortunately passed away due to complications from this virus, only 2 were fully vaccinated. We do not believe that this is a coincidence. We have verified locally through our own observation what the medical professionals and the scientists have been telling us. Virgin Islanders who have taken the vaccine have been less likely to become seriously ill, less likely to require hospitalization, and less likely to die as a result of the COVID infection. It is this evidence that drives us to strongly encourage Virgin Islanders to get vaccinated as our primary tool to combat the COVID virus. Now, as of January 1, 54,175 Virgin Islanders have been fully vaccinated. According to the 2020 census data, that is approximately 62% of our total population. There is no question that the incentives that we had this summer worked. Perhaps of greater significance, more than 88.5% of the population over the age of 65, the most vulnerable among us, have been vaccinated in the Virgin Islands against the virus. We have not yet achieved our target for local herd immunity. However, the vaccines have helped us achieve our mission not to overwhelm our limited healthcare capacity. As a community, we have done relatively well in mitigating the health impacts of this pandemic. And when I walk through the community on a daily basis throughout the territory, individuals often come up to me and commend me for the management of the pandemic. I graciously accept their commendations and remind them that we are only managing this crisis as well as we are because of the tireless effort and dedication of the many COVID warriors who have done the heavy lifting to keep us all safe. We owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the nurses, physicians, respiratory therapists, and other medical and support personnel at our hospitals and private clinics. We are equally grateful to the COVID task force that has strictly enforced the public health orders. We must not forget the unsung heroes in the public health laboratories and the epidemiologists who have been on the top of this virus from day one. The members of the National Guard have filled in where needed. From our beaches to doing passenger screening on the airport. We have dedicated, hardworking employees in the Department of Human Services, the Department of Finance, the Department of Labor, Office of Management and Budget, BIR, Bureau of Internal Revenue, that have made sure that the economic aid to the territory is made available to our residents in a timely fashion. And we owe a tremendous appreciation to our residents who adhere to the safety protocols that kept us all safe. We have been blessed with a strong leadership team that has assisted me in decision-making. I have received daily guidance from Commissioner Justa Encarnacion, Director Darrell Joshin, Commissioners Richard Evangelista, Ray Martinez, Kimberly Causey Gomez, Joseph Buscelte. Dr. Louis Amaro and Daima Williams have been major contributors at our hospitals. Major General Kojo Knox Limbacher, and of course, former Commissioner Trevor Vellenor, Dr. Esther Ellis, and Dr. Nicole Sims. Can't forget Dr. Ty Hunt Caesar, and the always and steady, wise counsel of Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach. This has been an active part of some of the most challenging decisions. Literally, on matters of life and death on a daily basis. Please join me in recognizing our public servants and our unsung heroes who have helped us make it this far and are bolster to our community in our progress against the pandemic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I don't know if we are any closer to the end of this crisis. The theories of how the pandemic ultimately doesn't truly know. But what I do know is that Virgin Islanders are some of the most resilient people you can find on planet Earth. And we will weather this storm, just as we have weathered every other storm before it. Our response to the COVID pandemic balanced the need to protect public health while mitigating the negative impact of the economy on the economy. We have always understood that it was paramount to protect people's lives as well as their livelihoods. Delegate Stacey Plaskett, Terry Hellenese, and our Washington team and I have made sure that Congress and the Biden administration recognize the economic hardships imposed by the pandemic and the resulting public health response here in the Virgin Islands. The federal government has made an unprecedented commitment of resources to aid individuals, businesses, and the local government, on top of the recovery measures for the catastrophes of hurricanes of 2017. When you look at the economic impact, the Bureau of Internal Revenue paid $147 million in economic impact payments, better known to you as stimmy checks. And that's in 2021 alone, with a total of over 98,000 checks issued. That's more checks than we have people. The BIR also paid more than $19 million in advanced child tax credits to 8,634 households with minor Virgin Islands children. The Department of Labor paid out over $104 million in unemployment insurance claim. It warmed our hearts to hear from citizens about being able to improve their quality of life after being laid off, seniors being able to afford their medication, college graduates being able to start paying down on their school loans, and fathers being able to open a saving account for their families. Our children didn't go hungry. As a matter of fact, I was out at BCB this morning with Miss Bastian and Mr. Bartlett in the kitchen and all the other people there working. Food smelled good at 9 a.m. Working to keep our children fed. The checks are coming. We ain't forgot you. But the Department of Human Services pitched in as well to meet the nutritional needs of our children by administering the Pandemic Electronic Benefits Transfer, or PEBT as we know it. Through this program, children receive temporary emergency nutrition benefits. The department paid out almost $13 million in PEBT payments to children in the 2021 school year, and approximately $3.4 million to children that were enrolled in regular childcare. Another $6.75 million to children over the summer. That is over $23 million in food benefits distributed to families in need. This is on top of the $55 million in food stamps that they distribute annually. They need an applause for that. We didn't leave the small business out. Some 3,430 small businesses participated in the Paycheck Protection Program, receiving over $75 million to keep their workforce employed and pay their rent. Local restaurants and bars took advantage of the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, receiving almost $6 million in funding. Another 1,833 businesses received economic injury disaster loans, totaling more than $121 million. The U.S. Virgin Islands received per capita more economic disaster injury funds than anywhere else in the entire country. In all, between these four programs, businesses in the Virgin Islands received more than $202 million in aid, and just in 2021. The 2017 hurricane disaster recovery continues to gain momentum, and the road ahead is filled with visible evidence of the reconstruction of a brighter future for all Virgin Islanders. In 2021, we witnessed a burst of recovery activity with more than 220 projects underway, despite the lags in the federal process and the delays due to COVID. This year, we have 275 projects scheduled for construction or planned for completion. The recent hard-fought approval for the full replacement of the wastewater system on St. Croix boosts the available recovery dollars from $8 billion to $9.5 billion. Over the next few years, federal programs will continue to support a rise out of the devastation of the storm. As of December 31st, the Bryan Roach administration has secured 75% or $6 billion of those funds, obligating $4.8 billion to specific projects and paying out over $2.4 billion to complete this critical work. In 2021, expenditures increased 98.9% to $787 million, up by almost $400 million year over year. Now, the RAND report that was funded by FEMA predicted that the best we could do would probably be spend $500 million in a year. But we have surpassed that mark already as we move further along this path to recovery. The Office of Disaster Recovery presses forward to get the funds, and more importantly, to spend the funds and spend them correctly. I applaud Director Adrienne Williams-Octolin and her dedicated team, as well as our local and federal stakeholders for their roles in ensuring we receive every single penny that is due to us. See, there's one thing that I consider as non-negotiable as I serve as your governor. And you know it too. It is always to be honest in what we can and what we cannot achieve. I pride myself in our ability to deliver on the commitments Lieutenant Governor delivered despite COVID. We prioritize the things you told us were important. The stability of government is paramount to the stability of our people. With the strengthening economy and the significant availability of federal funds, my administration has made a concerted effort to invest not only in our people, but in our infrastructure and certainly our future. The enormous unfunded liability facing our public employee pension system is perhaps the most significant an employee's retirement system. They depend on it for a substantial part of their annual income. Many of our local businesses depend on the patronage of these pensioners. There are also thousands more Virgin Islanders who pay between 11 and 14% of their gross pay every 2 weeks in hopes of securing their financial future when they can no longer work. As we truly
time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kinds of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all that we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
obligation is repaid. The fiscal year 2023 executive budget that I submit for the approval in May will include an appropriation in keeping with this plan. Now, we will need legislative action to make good on the commitment. So I humbly ask for the support of this body in this endeavor. Senators, I am sure that we can all agree that taking care of these public servants who have been waiting on their government to make them whole for over 3 decades is a worthwhile challenge. Let us make this the year that we not only solve the pension crisis at GRS, but we also commit to a sustainable plan for the repayment of the retroactive wages owed to our retirees. The financial security of our seniors is of our utmost importance to our administration. We are also invested in their health, their housing, recreation, and the overall quality of life. To further our commitment on that agenda, we will be reconstituting the membership of the Commission on Aging this year. I thank the ARP for working with us to get that. And I look forward to working with the Commission to ensure that the needs of our elders are not ignored and they are properly addressed. In addition to investing in our people, though, we have to also make considerable investments in improving our infrastructure. We required a lot of patience as FEMA reviewed our request for a revision for the floodplain maps. But as promised, the construction of the Paul Joseph Stadium resumed last year. There are, however, some additional amenities not currently included in the contract that we believe will add value to the project. The estimated cost of those improvements, as we sent to the legislature before, is approximately $3 million. We will be presenting those recommendations to this body for your consideration and look forward to the discussion. We believe that these final additions will help ensure that this was a stadium worth waiting for. With the help of this body, we have been able to fund the restoration of the drag racing facility on St. Croix. Drag racing will be returning to St. Croix this year, but unfortunately, horse racing is unlikely to return until 2023. We have amended the agreement with VIGL as it relates to the operation of the racetracks. While they are still responsible for the operation of both tracks, this allowed us to authorize them to proceed with the redevelopment of the Randall Doc James track on St. Croix, while we work to resolve the lawsuit that has hindered progress on returning horse racing on St. Thomas. We continue to monitor VIGL as it proceeds with the renovation of the racetrack on St. Croix. And we are pleased to announce, by hook or by crook, VIGL or no VIGL, we're gonna get this horse racetrack built in St. Croix. I also want to say that this week we will be submitting, most likely tomorrow, to the Senate President, an agreement for the resumption of the renovations at the Clinton Phipps racetrack here on St. Thomas. Southland has presented us with an opportunity where they will build the entire track in St. Thomas for us in exchange for an extension of their exclusivity with their gaming. We're looking forward to the full body support of this body to ensure that we return horse racing on both islands. The Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation is in the midst of an aggressive effort to redevelop its facilities. Repairs were completed to several parks, including the Isaac Boynes Park in Grove Place and the Pedro Cruz Ballpark in Estate Prophet. The department has an incredible queue of projects, either in construction, under construction, or about to commence. This year, we'll see the completion of restoration and repair projects at Emil Griffith Ballpark, Lionel Roberts Stadium, Rudy Krieger in Science Forum, Renhold Jackson in Wim, Alvin McBean Park in Tutu, Kerwin Terrace Ballpark, and Joseph Abane Ballpark in Frenchtown. We are also actively facilitating the development of cricket pitches on both St. Thomas and St. Croix, as we believe cricket has a big place in our future. In Frederickstead, the revitalization of the Meadrake Commons Recreational and Youth Facility has been completed. This is a custom-designed project built by the members of the Virgin Islands community, because people came from as far away as St. John to help. That only happened with $400,000 in seed funding from the government of the Virgin Islands, supported by this body. We thank all of the private sector donors, though, and the hundreds of community volunteers who contributed to this beautiful project that honors a proud Virgin Islander, Meadrake Merrick Cummins. Repairs are underway at Fort Frederick Beach Pavilion on one side of town and the Vincent Mason Senior Pool on the other side of town. On the east end of St. Croix, construction is also underway on the pavilions at Kramer's Park. I would like to thank Commissioner Calvert White and the team at Sports Park and Recreation for their excellent work. It's time to get our children out and back to playing ball. One of our observations throughout the pandemic is that those who are most likely to succumb to the virus already had pre-existing health conditions. Many victims suffered from obesity, hypertension, diabetes, or other ailments. For this reason, we have renewed our focus on preventative health care. We all know someone. Most of us have a family member, or at least a friend, who has been impacted by diabetes. And we are committed to helping persons with diabetes manage their care in an effort to improve the quality of life for persons who are living with diabetes or those at risk for diabetes. We have partnered with the Virgin Islands Diabetes Center for Excellence to bring added healthcare specialists and clinical care to the territory to treat individuals with diabetes and provide increased educational outreach and services. The Center of Excellence is a nonprofit and hopes to serve 1,000 Virgin Islanders within its first year with lifestyle and healthcare services, and more than 10,000 residents with its educational outreach. That's not enough, though. We have also set aside $1 million for the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation to launch a health and wellness campaign with programs accessible to individuals of all ages and abilities. We are working to improve the physical fitness of our community and the health of our people by getting them up and getting them out. You see, our healthcare professionals, they're doing an incredible job responding to a global pandemic in a less than ideal environment. After 4 years, our hospital infrastructure is still struggling to recover from the effects of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And our administration has invested millions of dollars in the last year to ensure that they have the needed resources. Our healthcare workers, they have the resources to provide the best care possible to our residents. Now, restoration of these facilities remain a top priority in our disaster recovery. The temporary replacement for hurricane-damaged Governor Juan F. Louis Hospital, referred to as JFL North, remains frustratingly close to completion. JFL is a 110-bed temporary hospital that will serve the acute care needs of St. Croix for 5 to 7 years necessary for the demolition and rebuilding of the permanent hospital. The temporary facility is essentially finished and it's fully furnished, but it requires utility connections to be fully functional. And installing these connections has proven to be extremely complicated for a variety of reasons, including the existing site conditions. Now, last year, I got in trouble when I attempted to project the completion date for this facility. However, in the interest of transparency, I will take the risk once again and report that JFL's new projection for the functional opening of JFL North will be this summer. I want to publicly welcome on board and gladly welcome on board the Chief Executive Officer of the Governor Juan F. Louis Hospital, Douglas Koch. He has a lot of work cut out for him, Mr. Koch. But even as the board and management of JFL work feverishly to open the temporary hospital, the design process has begun on the permanent hospital and replacement. The Juan F. Louis Hospital awarded a contract for architectural services to Flat Associates for the design of the new Juan F. Louis Hospital. Flat Associates has also been retained by the Department of Health to design the replacement Charles Howard Medical Center. Now, last year, after wrestling back and forth for 4 years, FEMA finally approved the complete replacement of the Charlotte Kimmelman Cancer Institute on St. Thomas and the Myra Keating Smith Community Health Center on St. John. The architectural and engineering design of both facilities is currently underway, and we expect to see work begin this year. Now, unlike the other facilities, the Snyder Regional Medical Center has not been approved for replacement. Now, FEMA and the territory continue to negotiate disagreements on the scope of damages to be funded. FEMA's reluctance to acknowledge the full scope of the damage caused by the hurricanes at the hospital has unfortunately delayed the progress on the repairs. But while the process has been frustratingly slow, the effort is going to be so worth it. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build brand new, modern, state-of-the-art health facilities to serve the people of the Virgin Islands. An opportunity to build health facilities that are resilient and sustainable. An opportunity to build facilities that will make the Virgin Islanders who go to work there every day, and those of us who visit, extremely proud. But in the meantime, we will spare no expenses in ensuring that the hospital systems maintain an adequate level of service to meet the needs of this community. But you see, hospitals are not just about facilities. Their effectiveness is fully dependent on the professionals that work there. We understand the stress and strain that has undoubtedly been experienced by the staff at our hospital as they've worked long and arduous hours under very difficult circumstances. Now, we've done our best to augment staffing and provide reinforcements through contract labor. However, this is just a temporary solution. At best, the key to the future of healthcare in the territory is to retain the qualified Virgin Islanders that currently staff our healthcare centers and to recruit a whole new generation of Virgin Islanders to the healthcare profession. To that end, in consultation with both hospitals, we have set aside $16 million to execute a recruitment and retention program for nurses and allied health professionals right here in the territory. Nurses and allied health professionals, we would have paid you already, but we're working with your affected unions to make sure we do this implementation right, and it is permanent to your salaries. Tonight, though, we are extremely grateful to recognize four of our first responders for their exemplary service over the last year. These employees represent some of the most dedicated public servants. From St. Croix District, EMT Anne-Marie Camacho is not here, but we are joined by Everly Santiago, a registered nurse from the Juan F. Louis Hospital. You're getting shout outs from the senators. And from the St. Thomas St. John District, EMT Louis Robles is not here, but we do have Deborah Krause Hodge, a registered nurse from the Snyder Regional Medical Center. Thank you. Thank you. They have done an incredible job, you know. And at the darkest hour, they often tell me, they said, we're the only office that don't shut down because of COVID. You remember that. Now, the provision of affordable and reliable and quality water and power is an essential part of our infrastructure and crucial for our continued economic growth. The inadequacy of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority in fulfilling this mission has been the source of much discussion, plenty deliberation, and a gene bang of frustration in this community for decades. For decades. However, I have maintained that WAPA is a public corporation and an asset that belongs to you and I, the people of the Virgin Islands. And as governor, I do not have the option of watching a public institution fail. So we have spent the last 3 years working closely with the board and the management to stabilize the Water and Power Authority through some very, very trying times. Now, WAPA has before it an opportunity to start to regain the public's trust and confidence by installing a completely new leadership team. This process has begun with the hiring of a new Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Smith. We wish him much success as he guides WAPA forward. Now, he will soon be selecting a new Chief Financial Officer and a new Chief Operating Officer to assist him in that task. See, there are two important aspects of WAPA's delivery of service: reliability and cost. WAPA is making great strides in implementing the necessary measures to improve reliability. There are 3 electrical underground projects presently under construction on St. Croix, at Midland, Golden Grove, and Container Port. WAPA has also begun burying lines underground in Cruz Bay and is designing a similar project for St. Thomas. Over 4,700 composite poles have already been installed across the territory. In all, 8,500 composite poles will be installed before January 2024. WAPA has begun reconstructing its substations that were damaged by the hurricanes. The St. Thomas East End substation has been completely repaired. This year, WAPA will begin the installation of standby generators on St. John, and for the first time ever, WAPA is installing battery energy storage systems. The cumulative effect of these projects will reduce the frequency of power outages and the duration of those outages. But where WAPA has failed to make adequate progress thus far, it's on the bigger challenge of providing power at a reasonable cost. Now, through countless conversations with WAPA and consultation with other advisors, it is clear to me that WAPA has 3 urgent priorities: expedite the installation of the recently delivered Watts-Solar generators that will improve power plant efficiency. We don't need all 4 in, just give us 2 so our current could stay on. Immediately refinance the debt owed to Vital for construction of the propane terminals. That's a big part of the bill that we're paying right now. And fast track the renewable projects that they have in the pipeline. The debt owed to Vital is structured as a high interest rate, short-term note. WAPA must restructure that debt now into a lower interest rate and a longer-term obligation. I am calling on WAPA and the Public Service Commission to expedite this matter while we still enjoy a favorable interest rate environment. Refinancing that debt result in immediate savings to you, the ratepayer. Now, in the Virgin Islands, we don't control commodity prices. Oil and propane, just like food and rent, are seeing incredible amounts of inflation and price increases. But we as a government will stand in front, and we will not allow WAPA to fully pass on that increase to our ratepayers. I pledge to you tonight to identify the funds to buy down those increases if it becomes necessary, just like we did the year before. But however, this approach is not sustainable. If WAPA is to survive and properly serve this community, it must transform itself into a renewable energy company and focus more on the distribution of energy than it does on producing the power itself. Increasing the amount of power produced by the renewable energy provides a hedge against increasing fossil fuel prices. The rebuilding of the solar farm in Estate Duna is 70% complete and should be back online this spring. This is a great start, but WAPA also needs to give greater priority to the development of FEMA-funded 28 megawatt St. Croix microgrid project and the 10 megawatt wind farm in Bavoni. See, we are ensuring that WAPA is making this transformation towards greater renewable energy. I've instructed the director of the Energy Office, Kyle Fleming, to establish a low-interest loan program to fund the installation of solar energy for small residential customers of WAPA. We are going to develop a loan fund of $25 million, large enough to take 1,000 people off the grid every single year. This energy independence will mean independence for many of Virgin Islanders who are held hostage by the WAPA bill. We will not allow the people of the Virgin Islands to be held hostage. The repayment of these loans will be conveniently done through your WAPA bill with no money down, as was successfully done before with the solar water heater installation. We are designing this program in a manner that is harmless to WAPA and beneficial to the customers. These solar installations will remain grid connected and will have WAPA as a standby source of power. The interest accrued on the loans that we give out will be retained by WAPA and used to fund more energy independence for more Virgin Islanders. The increased production of solar energy will benefit all of WAPA's customers. This is the future of the utility industry, and that future is calling now. Last year, we completed 2 major transportation projects that not only improved traffic flow in Charlotte and Mali, but provided a much-needed aesthetic upgrade to our waterfront and our downtown areas. Now, after 13 years of frustration and inconvenience, the Main Street Revitalization project was finally concluded. The cobblestone road and decorative streetlights are a welcome refresh of the Main Street experience. And likewise, after 30 years, the long-standing effort to expand Veterans Drive to a 4-lane highway has moved one step closer to fruition with the completion of phase 1 of the Veterans Drive improvement project. The improvements not only add safety and utility to the highway, but also add beauty to the world-class views of the Charlotte and Mali waterfront. Now, numerous other federal road projects were completed this year, including Crown Bay drainage and pedestrian improvements, the Eastern Cemetery Roadway Phase 2, the Benner Hill Guardrail Project, and the Hess Road on St. Croix. But while FEMA and HUD have pledged resources towards repairs, this process has been frustratingly slow and very tedious. Furthermore, the federal highway funding allocated to the territory is simply insufficient for the actual repairs required. Our administration has lobbied Congress and the U.S. Department of Transportation for a larger allocation of funding for the U.S. Virgin Islands. The federal bipartisan infrastructure bill passed in November only increased the federal funding for our roads and bridges to $19 million annually. This is a far, far cry from the $35 million that the officials in the Department of Public Works have been telling us is necessary to repair and maintain all of the territory's roadways. But we will continue to lobby on behalf of the territory, alongside our delegate, Stacey Plaskett, for increased transportation and funding. But this past year, we made a concerted effort to address our neighborhood roads that are not part of the federal system. We appropriated $20 million in fiscal year 2021 of local funds for road repairs. We are proud to say, with these funds, last year we completed road projects on Garden Street, Princess Garda, Estate Miss Gunston, Lurkenlund, Hospital Ground, Estate Lorraine, St. George, Campo Rico, Bugby Hole, Wim, Work and Rest, Catherine Rest, Union Mount Washington, Mount Pleasant East, and Strawberry Hill. I thank this body and the members of the 33rd Legislature for approving our appropriation request and allowing these road paving projects to move forward. Now, of course, we will be including more road paving projects with the upcoming budget. But as I speak this evening, we have contracts in place for road repairs taking place at Gallows Bay, Estate Herman Hill, Mandal, Smith Bay, Mount Pleasant, Upper Love, Estate Hope, Pearl, Marion Hoy, Estate St. Peter, Liliendal, and Estate Carolina and St. John. This year, we also expect to begin road repairs or drainage improvement in projects in Estate Thomas on First Avenue and Bovoni in St. Thomas, Centerline Road, Fish Bay, Maho Bay, and Coral Bay on the island of St. John, and Clifton Hill, Estate Richmond, Calcahoon, and Williams Delight on St. Croix. And repairs are planned for Water Island roads as well. We have also funded 367 light replacements along the Melvin H. Evans Highway. It's going to be light up like a airport runway. And of course, we look forward to continuing several projects we have initiated, including the work on Veterans Drive Phase 2. Thank you, Commissioner Gabriel and your team for your aggressive efforts to repair the roads of the Virgin Islands. We also continue to make major investments in the development of our port facilities. Last year, the Virgin Islands Port Authority completed the expansion of the departure terminal at Henry E. Rosen Airport, and it is indeed a beautiful piece of work. Work continues on the construction of the Transportation Center, or like we call it, the parking garage at the Cyril E. King Airport. And the new Gordon A. Finch Molasses Pier is just about done on the south shore of St. Croix. Carlton Dow, right now, and his all-star team at the Port Authority continue to do this great work. We look forward to finalizing negotiations between the Public Finance Authority and the Port Authority to effectuate the final transfer of WICO. We still remain committed to consolidating the management of the cruise ship business within one agency. Now, we have a lot of things to do, but the shortage of housing for working people threatens to derail the economic growth of the U.S. Virgin Islands. This body is to be commended for the passage of the First Time Homebuyers Program Act and the appropriation of $4 million for home ownership. These are for people who don't qualify for the regular programs. This provides an additional tool in our efforts to financially support Virgin Islanders seeking to purchase land for home construction, build or purchase a house, or repair or rehabilitate an existing house for use as their primary residence. That measure supplements $70 million for home ownership and construction and first-time home buyer assistance already earmarked in our HUD funding. If that's not enough, we are also using the ARPA plan, dedicating an additional $10 million to make sure that we get housing affordable, and that's being powered by our Office of Management and Budget for Affordable Housing. Last year, we saw the unveiling of the most symbolic demonstration to modern affordable housing in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Megan's Junction 2. I was so pleased to meet the residents and proud that they now call this development their home. This 60-unit, 9-story apartment complex represents the future and sets the local standard for housing construction. This public-private partnership was developed by Jackson Development Company and financed through a combination of local and federal funding administered by our Housing Finance Authority. The state-of-the-art building was designed to be sustainable and is independent of WAPA energy. Powered by microturbine generators, solar energy, and battery storage. This is what the future of affordable housing in the Virgin Islands looks like. The Virgin Islands Housing Authority has been extremely aggressive in repairing and restoring its low-income housing stock. The Dunu redevelopment project continues to progress and is slated to be completed in December. That is a $57.4 million housing development that will consist of 84 brand new rental units, affordable units on the island of St. Thomas. The buildings at Tutu High Rise are now being demolished to clear the way for a new development there. The authority will begin reinvigorating the Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion community in Frederiksted, thanks to a $78.6 million in multi-grant financing. Work is expected to start this month and will completely rehabilitate 248 units in this housing community, including several buildings that were abandoned long before the hurricane struck the territory. This will increase the inventory for housing for low-income families on St. Croix. It will also provide a much-needed modernization and facelift for the current members of that community. The Housing Authority has also a current solicitation for bids to construct a new 98-unit senior housing complex in Estate Stony Ground in Frederiksted that is expected to begin this summer. The demolition of the Ludwig Harrigan site in Frederiksted is complete, paving the way for the development of even more senior housing on that site. The Housing Authority has also been actively repairing the storm-related damage to its properties. This past year, the authority completed extensive roof repairs at Michael J. Kerwin Terrace, Paul and Pearson Gardens, the Knolls at Contant, and Marley Homes. The authority was allocated a little over $61 million by FEMA to conduct repairs within the remaining housing communities that were most devastated by the storm. Tonight, I congratulate Robert Graham and Lydia Pell and the good folks at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority on their work to transform our housing stock. The Sheltering and Temporary Essential Power Pilot Program, or STEP, is a predecessor of the Envision Tomorrow program. Now, that was a success. The pilot program completed temporary roof repairs of 6,500 homes in the immediate aftermath of the storm. Phase 2 provided permanent roof repairs to 1,600 homeowners. However, the success of the program was tainted by the failure of the federal government to pay the contractors and the vendors for their services. So, although construction concluded in April 2019, the biggest challenge was producing the documentation required by FEMA in order to reimburse the territory for the cost of the repairs and the related experiences. This past year, the Office of Disaster Recovery and the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority made significant progress in resolving most of those outstanding disputes with FEMA. Because of those efforts, I'm pleased to say that in 2021, the STEP program paid out $341 million to the contractors associated with this project. This brings the total payments for that program to $703 million paid to the contractors and their vendors, most of which were local small businesses. I would like to thank these contractors and vendors for their patience and the work they did to put Virgin Islanders back in their homes after the storms. I also want to thank Executive Director Darrell Griffith and the staff at the Housing Finance Authority who have worked tirelessly to get this issue resolved. The Envision Tomorrow has generated a lot of discussion in political forums of our community, and even more so in the homes of the residents enrolled in those programs. It has certainly not moved at the pace that we envisioned. Our reality is, though, that any program generous enough to grant a homeowner as much as $250,000 of federal tax dollars to invest in their private property with no requirement for payback demands significant checks and balances. However, for those who are patient in tolerating the federal bureaucracy of this program, the reward is tremendous. Now, this is not a roofing program. These are the houses that were damaged the most in the storm and were not able to be repaired under the two programs. It focuses on structures that require major repairs and mostly total reconstruction and demolition of the old building. This is the first time in the aftermath of a disaster that the government of the Virgin Islands has attempted a program this ambitious. It was designed to assist those homeowners who lack insurance or other resources need to rebuild. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, Envision Tomorrow got off to a notoriously piss-poor slow start. There's reason for optimism now for those applicants who are still awaiting repairs to their homes. So in the past year, as we pushed to get this program moving faster, we learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way. And we are now confident that the program is moving more efficiently before. The program is on track to have all eligible homeowners sign their grant awards by June of this year. The Housing Finance Authority is projecting that they will begin construction on at least 200 homes in 2022. I totally understand the frustration of those waiting for assistance. But I vow as your governor to keep the pressure on the Housing Finance Authority until every participant in this program is properly housed. Now, under the tenure of former Commissioner Trevor Vellner and current Commissioner Ray Martinez, the Virgin Islands Police Department has undertaken efforts to improve its relationship with the community. We are guided by the notion that together we can tackle the problem of crime. See, we all play an active role in the safety of our community. In my last address, I issued a call to action. If you see something, say something. I'm exceedingly proud to say that our community has answered. In the past few months, VIPD made several arrests in connection with robberies and homicides. These arrests are the direct result of developing a partnership between VIPD and a community who will no longer stand for a norm of violence. VIPD has demonstrated that when we work together, they can and will remove criminals that terrorize our community from our neighborhoods. I see progress in our future as it relates to fighting crime. VIPD has revamped and expanded its recruitment strategy, while the department has seen the hiring of 63 new employees, including police officers, police auxiliary, and community service officers, and key civilian staff. It still needs hundreds of officers territory-wide. I once again urge the men and women of this territory to consider the various career opportunities available at the police department. The VIPD continues to increase its crime-fighting technology capabilities. To date, the first phase of the camera project has been completed. We now have 105 cameras throughout the territory, some of which include license plate reading capabilities. VIPD has already begun to use camera footages to aid in crime fighting and looks forward to launching the department's real-time crime centers as a monitoring base in both districts. We anticipate 2 more phases of this project, which will provide an additional 473 cameras territory-wide. The department has acquired its first drone, and 4 more are in process. They will provide aerial support to conduct aerial searches and rescue missions. VIPD also purchased a new automated fingerprint identification system for fingerprint comparison both locally and nationally to link criminals to crimes and store fingerprint data for future reference. Our officers will soon be outfitted with body-worn cameras for the safety of officers and civilians alike. We're investing in the police department, and I look forward to seeing our men and women in blue deploying these resources to further combat crime. However, the best way to fight crime is to prevent it from occurring in the first place. Now, after several rounds of interviews, tonight I am pleased to announce to you the launch of the Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the governor's office, which will be led by the director of that, Mr. Antonio Emmanuel. Now, while Mr. Emmanuel has law enforcement background, he was selected for his experience in working with at-risk youth in their communities. We have tasked him with executing strategic community-based interventions in line with the National Network for Safety Communities model. Mr. Emmanuel, in taking this position, now serves as the head of the Governor's Advisory Council on Community Violence Intervention. The council brings together government, nonprofits, religious, and private sector partners to provide guidance to the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I am committed to providing resources and support to ensure the success of this program and hope that this legislature will join me in this effort. You see, illegal firearms continue to be an escalating problem in the territory. In 2021, VIPD confiscated 153 illegal firearms. At the beginning of last year, I submitted legislation to this body to bolster our laws surrounding firearms. Following Senate input and Committee of the Whole, I revised and resubmitted the legislation, which now seeks to institute a 24-hour declaration of firearms entering the territory, increased punitive measures for failing to report lost or stolen firearms, and it establishes safe firearm storage requirements in homes and in businesses. Senators, we have a common goal in addressing the presence of illegal firearms in the territory. I look forward to working with you to see the legislation through the process to passage and enactment. I'm also looking to the legislature for forward movement on the Virgin Islands Fire and Emergency Medical Service Bill. The integration of fire and service and the emergency medical service is good for the people of the Virgin Islands. It is good for you, and it's good for me. It's good enough for anyone to find themselves in a fortunate situation where they need an ambulance. My commissioners, directors, and I have met with the unions and the employees from fire and EMS on multiple occasions. From those meetings, it was clear as day that an integration of these services is the best way forward to provide more efficient and effective emergency response across the territory. Our fire stations have the capacity to accommodate EMS, and our firefighters have excelled in the emergency medical response certification courses. And both fire and EMS employees have demonstrated a passion for delivering the best service possible to their friends and neighbors, the people of the Virgin Islands. See, we are not reinventing the wheel. This merger is in accordance with a well-established and growing movement toward shared services worldwide. It demonstrates a commitment to the public safety by decreasing emergency response time through the strategic deployment of fire and EMS personnel from 10 additional locations throughout the territory. Senators, no one should die waiting for an ambulance. One more measure before this body is legalization of adult use cannabis. The Cannabis Advisory Board selected an executive director, Hannah Carty, who began working on January 3rd. Her experience in the Department of Agriculture as its administrator of the hemp program positions her to be a driving force in regulating the cannabis industry. The Office of Cannabis Regulation is presenting the proposed rules and regulations for the medicinal cannabis program to the public next month. While this is progress, I would be remiss to not point out that the current medicinal cannabis law does not address the social inequities resulting from the arrest and incarceration of those who use marijuana in the past. It does not provide an opportunity to those who were marginalized for decades. And it does nothing for the young budding entrepreneurs who want to enter this industry. It certainly does not provide a revenue stream to the government. In fact, it costs us money. We all learned in Denver that there is so much more we can do in the cannabis industry, and we are leaving too much opportunity on the table. I remind you, my senators, we already have a cannabis industry. It's just not regulated, and we get no tax from it. It is time, it is past time for us to give serious consideration to completing what we have started and to not let this opportunity pass us by. The COVID-19 pandemic has without question disrupted the Virgin Islands Department of Education's normal operations and impacted the quality of teaching and learning for the past 3 school years. Our students have been challenged in so many ways, along with our parents, during this time. We have expressed concerns regarding absenteeism from classes, low academic performance, and quite simply, social and emotional disconnect that you have and the challenges accessing technology. Physical and social isolation by social distancing has severely impacted our children, especially those that are suffering with existing depression and anxiety issues. The department, however, has done its best to overcome these challenges and provide a quality learning experience for all our students. See, while COVID has been a distraction, it has not dominated all of our attention. Last year, the Ivana Dorican Central and Charlotte Amalie High Schools all received full accreditation for the next 7 years from the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. Congratulations to my school accreditation teams and the teachers and the administrators who guided this process. This is indeed a major accomplishment. I know what you're asking. What happened to Complex? Well, the St. Croix Educational Complex will begin their re-accreditation process this school year. Believe it or not, graduation rates have actually trended upwards over the last 3 years. 62.6% in 2019, 70.9% in 2020, and 71.4% in 2021. In May of 2021, the department successfully graduated 723 students territory-wide from our high school. And we have made available to each and every one of those graduates pursuing a post-secondary education a $1,000 stipend to address pandemic-related hardships that may have incurred. We continue to develop and expand our public pre-K programs, our pre-kindergarten. To date, 8 pre-K classrooms are now fully operational, 6 of which were open during the current COVID-19 pandemic. See, we have maintained an emphasis on school readiness as part of this administration's cradle to career strategic focus. Lieutenant Governor Roach and I want to make sure that every child that enters our school system is duly prepared for success. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate 2 young aviation students. And Lord knows we need pilots. Carlos Alexander and Celius Gordon. They recently completed their first solo flights last October. They are part of the aviation program at our St. Croix Career and Technical Center. These young men are well on their ways to career as pilots and develop those skills right here through the opportunities made available by the Department of Education. I also want to acknowledge their instructor and my good friend, Ira Williams. We call him something else, man, wouldn't say that tonight, who has led the C-Tech Aviation Academy since 2012. So despite the issues posed by the pandemic, there are great things still happening at our schools. However, we do have a continued concern about the level of academic proficiency demonstrated by our students in general. It's not a new thing. According to our most recent standardized test result, 22.3% of third graders performed on grade level in reading, and only 16.9% in math. While this is actually an improvement, believe it or not, from our pre-COVID era scores and evidence that the department's targeted academic interventions are working, it is still well below the level of performance that we aspire for our children. There's still much work to do to get all students onto their grade level in terms of reading. So we have allocated $1.5 million in each district to the community foundations for numeracy and literacy programs that keep students engaged and after school, on weekends, and during the summer. These funds are being subgranted to programs across the territory to further this mission to promote academic excellence. The Department of Education is also the recipient of over $138 million in funding through the American Rescue Plan. A considerable portion of those funds have been dedicated to supporting the implementation of these interventions that have been working, such as the summer enrichment, comprehensive after-school programs. And what about extended school year programs? Those are added in as well. See, significant resources have also been dedicated to ensuring that such learning respond to the social, emotional, and the mental health needs of our students in both our public and our private schools. But the physical condition of our school campuses remains of paramount concern. Now, our schools were badly damaged by the hurricanes in 2017, but they were also afflicted by years of deferred maintenance, and most are simply just showing their age. We are very proud this year to unveil the new 9th grade annex at the Charlotte Amalie High School. It is the first glimpse into what modern school construction will look like in the Virgin Islands. The facility has been retrofitted to include expandable classroom with movable walls, private reading rooms, natural lighting, and increased visibility to monitor students inside and outside of the class. The other school modernization projects will follow similar design standards and include other sustainable elements like renewable energy and efficient lighting. Repairs to the Gladys Abrams School are now nearing completion. This will be home to the new Raphael O. Whitley Skill Centers and the hub of real career and technical education in this district on the island of St. Thomas. While awaiting FEMA's response on the that will be allowable, the department has proceeded with the initial design for reconstruction or modernization of 5 schools: Charlotte Amalie High, Central High, Julius Sproul, BCB, Bertha Shebo Shelter, and Arthur Richards. FEMA has authorized full replacement of 10 buildings on 4 campuses with more than 50 requests still pending the response. But what FEMA did, they did approve the funding for a $242 million project for the rebuilding of Arthur A. Richards, a K-8 school on St. Croix. The contract for construction has already been awarded. The demolition of old Evelyn Williams Elementary School is in progress and makes the way for the brand new Arthur Richards. The new school is expected to break ground before the end of the year and makes the first complete school reconstruction since the storm. It will fully demonstrate the standards for new school construction established by the Department of Education's Master Facilities Plan. While virtual learning has continued for the 4th through 12th grade student populations, our students in pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade, special education, and our career and technical education students have been fully back to school since September of the school year. This semester, starting today, however, will mark the first time since the arrival of COVID that all public schools in the Virgin Islands will be open for in-person learning. It's not easy. I was out there today and it's not easy. But the department continues to provide resources such as personal protective equipment, cleaning supplies, spray cleaners, touchless fixtures, wash stations, bottle fill stations, and plexiglass for desks, all in an effort to just keep our children safe and minimize the spread of COVID. Throughout the course of the pandemic, the department has had to work hand in glove with the Department of Health in concert to ensure that the decisions that were made in the best interest of first the student, the faculty, and the staff for the safety of our school campuses. Thank you, Commissioner Raquel Berry Benjamin, and all the soldiers in the VIDE family. Thank you. Thank you. We continue to invest in our workforce and our young people, especially those in hard-to-fill vacancies in our government. This year, we launched a financial fellows program to provide opportunities for young Virgin Islanders to return home and receive training and jobs in the government of the Virgin Islands. The fellowship program is the first of its kind in the territory and provides 2 years of on-the-job training and work experience within the various financial agencies of our government, and a reasonably competitive salary of $55,000 per year. We don't do this because we have to. We do this because our young people deserve meaningful investments to be made in the future of their success. Not just lip service. They deserve an opportunity to return to their home and to contribute to their community. Our commitment to young people is truly from cradle to career. Now, in 2019, when I first addressed the Senate, I shared my desire to establish a long-term economic vision for the entire territory. One that was devoid of politics. We didn't need politics in it. But this past year, the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority unveiled Vision 2040. It's a community-based economic development and community revitalization plan. This plan lays out a 20-year economic strategy for the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's all encompassed in 8 aspirational goals that we all know and live that we need to achieve. Increase locally grown and sourced food. Become a blue economy research center. Forge new pathways in health and health sciences. Support our entrepreneurs and give them access to capital. Increase our population. Become a renewable energy community. Deliver a world-class education system. And optimize our tourism product through our culture. For those of you who had the opportunity to review the plan, you may have noticed that much of what I have discussed tonight revolves around supporting those 8 goals. It is our mission to continue to align the administration's policies with the goals embodied in Vision 2040. I want to thank the over 3,000 Virgin Islanders, both at home and abroad, that provided the input into this plan by participating in surveys and focus groups. It was truly a community-based effort that reflects the consensus of our diversified viewpoints. I thank Wayne Biggs and the EDA for bringing this effort together. The efforts of the University of the Virgin Islands Research and Technology Park exemplifies the innovation that will ultimately transform our economy. Within the last year, they have launched the Catalyst Fund, the Tech Village Development, a technology accelerator, and the Visa Plus talent recruitment site. Peter Chapman and his young talented staff continue to ably advance the vision of this administration. If there is one canary in this coal mine that we should really pay attention to, it is the results of the 2020 census population count. One of the aspirational goals of Vision 2040 is to increase the population of the Virgin Islands by 10%. But this goal was established before we revealed that the population has actually decreased by 18% to 87,000 people. That means to achieve the population target that Vision 2040 aspires to, the population must now grow by approximately 30,000 people. This has major implications for our ability to keep this recovery on track. We can't find people now. Spurring population growth is critical to spurring economic growth here in the territory. The population has to be large enough to generate the level of commercial activity that our businesses rely on. Simply put, fewer people means fewer customers. Our workforce also depends on population growth. We are currently in the midst of a labor shortage. Furthermore, the RAND Corporation published a report in 2020 that said that we would eventually need an additional 5,520 workers to sustain the recovery effort. That's just to get this work done. The loss of population also means shrinking tax base. An erosion of the tax revenues collected by the government will effectively result in a reduction in the ability for the government to provide services. We have to identify strategies and policies that will help reverse this population decline. Now, Lieutenant Governor Roach and I entered the responsibility with a clear plan for attaining the quality of life we aspire to as Virgin Islanders. And as I stand here tonight, I am pleased because the results of our approach to governance are becoming increasingly evident. We have gained greater momentum each year we have been in office. We have paid $96 million in income tax refund. We have paid and repaid the 8% BIESA payroll cut to the tune of $41.5 million. We have paid $10 million in retroactive wages owed to the former public sector employees. And we paid over $1 million to correct the pay owed to the National Guardsmen for their service following the 2017 storm. This is a total of almost $150 million in past due obligations, all paid from the Treasury of the U.S. Virgin Islands without borrowing a single dime. Ladies and gentlemen of the Virgin Islands and senators, that is what we have done together in just the last 12 months. I don't remember a time, and maybe you do, the last time our government was able to address the magnitude of financial obligations in such a short period of time. Senators, this is something that we all should be proud of. Economies are cyclical, but our territory is undeniably on an upswing. Not even the heads of hurricanes and pandemics have deterred our progress. In fact, they have bolstered our resolve. They have strengthened our efforts and provided the resources that have spurred our initiatives. I do not speak to you this evening with rose-colored glasses. As I said earlier, there is still much work to be done. The social ills that have compromised our quality of life still require our dedicated focus and our attention. We are now confronted with new headwinds for our community, created by the rising cost of living and the hard-to-find housing driven by all of the inflation. Let us not be fooled. We are only at the beginning of our journey to sound footing. But we have stabilized the finances of our government and begun the serious work of diversifying our economy and strengthening our private sector. We are laying a solid foundation to our future. See, this is indeed an exciting time to be a Virgin Islander. There are wonderful opportunities permeating throughout our community. But to appreciate them, we must not succumb to the usual cynicism and pessimism. realizing greater progress and increased prosperity is a community project. It's not something for us and them. We all must do our part as leaders and especially as citizens. See, we all want the best for the Virgin Islands. So, senators, if we put aside our personal ambitions and our individual agendas just long enough, we can achieve greater results for the people of the Virgin Islands. Lieutenant Governor Roach and I are confident of this. So let us move forward on a path together that builds on the trust that the people have placed in us to govern with competence and integrity. There is so much more that I left out of this speech. All of the things that we have accomplished together that I could have reported on tonight. But for the past year, I've been promising people that this year's address would not be as long as the previous years. Yet another promise that I made that I have now kept. Once again, I am grateful for the opportunity to address you all this evening. God bless you, and God bless our Virgin Islands. Love you.